Welcome to the podcast today, the Muckin Around podcast with Springbridge. My name's Tom and I'm the director of Springbridge Direct. And today we're going to be talking about crushing and screening. And we've brought on a guest today from Orba Group, Barry O'Regan. How you doing, Barry?
Hi, Tom. Thank you. Yeah,
excellent.
good.
And what's your background then, Barry, within the industry?
My background, Tom, is I came over here on this week, the 20th of March 2006, so 19 years ago this week.
Okay.
From Ireland. Initially only came over for 2 weeks like every other man.
Yeah.
But I'm still here going into my 20th year now this year. Came over to work for a Northern Ireland company at the time, selling their range of crushers and screens.
Yeah.
Started down in South Wales, was in South Wales from 2006 to 2009. The company got purchased by a bigger company, a Swedish firm, and I got transferred from South Wales to London in 2009.
Right.
I worked for that company up until 2019, until they made changes within the organisation. I then started on my own in 2019. So my own company is probably still in its infancy, going into our 6th year, covering, again, crushing and screening and material handling products to find solutions for many of the existing customers that I would have dealt with in the past, new customers throughout the UK.
And what sort of customers do you generally deal with? I mean, like obviously crushing and screening is quite a large, there's, quite a large selection of different uses. I mean, for crushing aggregates and sort of sieving out the different types of stone and X, Y, and Z. So how many markets do you sort of cover there?
The different sectors we cover, Tom, are quarrying, demolition, recycling, construction.
Yeah.
They would be the main 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. And at the moment, is there any sort of particular sort of type of crusher or screener that you're sort of particularly excited about at the moment? I mean,
yes, the range we cover at the moment is it's an Austrian range, SBM, a company that's over 70 years in business.
Yeah,
they've only ever produced diesel, electric, and full electric drive crushing units.
Yeah.
Which is a step away from, let's say, what's traditionally out there at the moment is the diesel hydraulic concept of crushers. We represent them. We have been for the last 3 years in the southwest and London area. Hybrid technology.
Yeah. Yeah, is that becoming more popular now,
yes,
Barry? Is it?
Yes, that seems to be the way forward, Tom. It's a different drive concept, as I said, away from the diesel hydraulic. So you have lower fuel consumption, lower decibel levels.
Yeah,
you have the ability to future-proof your business with the access to plugging it into the mains grid and an alternative power source.
Okay.
Whereas with the other.
Oh, so you can plug it in.
Yes,
you can plug it in.
Yeah, you can plug it into the mains grid or an alternative power source.
And so would some of these units be used like on building sites as well as quarries and sort of on-site crushing as well as sort of standalone like quarries and recycling centres and stuff like that?
Yes, they're used everywhere from the quarries to demolition projects on power stations, on anywhere outside this building here where there might be a demolition project currently happening.
Okay.
They're used in recycling centres also.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah, you can find them anywhere.
And I've read about, because I mean we buy a lot of crushed concrete of different people. We haven't actually got a crusher in our yard, but we get a lot of involvement with crushing and with various different quarried products and things. And I read a lot about different types of crushers, like is it a cone crusher and a jaw crusher?
Yes.
What is the difference, and why would you use different types of crushers?
You have 3 different types of crushers traditionally, Tom. A jaw crusher, which is basically a jaw crusher that's kind of in the shape of a V.
Okay.
like this. That would be most common used crusher. It's a primary crusher. It would be for material for when big rocks go in, crushes them. It can take a bit of impurity such as rebar, wood, plastics, things like that through the jaw crusher as well.
It wouldn't damage it. Wouldn't damage.
It doesn't damage it. No, not in theory. Not to the extent you would expect it to at times. Unless something uncrushable goes into the jaw crusher.
Yeah.
It has a safety mechanism in it called a toggle plate.
Okay.
Where it crushes to a certain pressure, and if something uncrushable is inside in that chamber, it will release.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
okay, so it doesn't damage the machine.
Damage happening to the main bearings on the crusher. Generally, with a jaw crusher, you're looking at sizing from 50 mil to 200 mil.
Right. Okay.
On your close size setting on a jaw crusher. The next crusher would be an impact crusher.
Okay.
Which I would describe as more of the letter C. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So the material comes along, same process, along a feeder, is dropped into a shaft with rotor with 4 blow bars on it that are spinning probably at about 1,000 RPMs per second.
Yeah.
And the material hits the spinning rotor and is propelled against a housing wall.
Yeah.
Now on that housing wall you've got a sizing chamber to get the size of the material specifically that you're after.
Yeah.
With an impactor, impactors produce an awful lot more finer material. So if you were going to see a customer that was wanting to process, kind of 0 to 50, the advice would be...
So like type 1 size,
yes, that
type
sizing,
1.
Yeah. You wouldn't really be wanting to make a more coarser material with an impactor because the wear ratio versus the cost per ton would be excessive.
Right, okay.
So if you wanted finer material, 0 to 50, you would be looking at an impact crusher.
Right.
The third crusher you mentioned, the cone crusher, again, the letter I'd probably use for that is the letter U.
Yeah.
So again, it comes along a feeder and drops down into like a bowl that's spinning again at left to like an eccentric downward. That is the cone crusher is predominantly more used for shaping stone.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yeah. So if it's to be to a certain specification,
ovalized or rounded or
yes.
Like
you get a lot of companies there that would require single sizes for drainage and things like that. So and would need a bit of shape on the stone. So a cone crusher would more be used in that side of it. Yeah, you will really only find cone crushers in quarries.
Right.
You
Okay.
wouldn't have them in recycling or anything like
right.
that. That's where they're used.
And do all those types of crushers, do they come in all different sizes? Like output levels, productivity levels?
Yes, yeah. You can start with, again, throughout the range, you can have a small jaw, anywhere from 27 to 30 ton, up to the next size up.
That's the size of the machine, is it?
Yeah, it's the weight of the machine.
Yeah.
If you want tonnage per hour, the question we generally ask now when we go into a customer is, what do you want to produce and what tonnages are you looking to produce? If he says, I'm only wanting to do, 150,000 ton per year of, crusher run or type 1 product, we would then, look at maybe the smaller crusher in the range.
Yeah.
It's all down to his transport needs as well, if he's moving from site to site or if he's staying in the same location. We'll also look at that. That happens throughout the range. You can step up all the way up to the big Remax 600, throughout the series. You have a 200, a 300, a 400, a 500 and a 600. With SPM, what those numbers represent is tonnages per hour.
Right, okay.
So if you want 200 tons per hour, in theory you focus in on.
And they do up to a 600?
Yes. The
600 ton per hour?
The Remax 600.
That's a lot.
Yes, that's a 5-product machine.
Right.
80-ton unit.
Yeah.
With a single, a double or a triple deck screening option on the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, with a lot of the latest advancements in AI technology incorporated onto that unit.
Oh, right.
Which we'll probably speak about later.
Yeah.
It's off the low loader and working in 10 to 15 minutes without any lifting equipment
Oh, really?
or tooling,
Yeah.
which is a huge step forward.
That's very good, isn't it? Yeah.
You don't need to. A lot of these other competitor machines would need a crane when they arrive on site, maybe in 2-3 different transport methods, and then would have to be assembled.
Yeah.
This comes on one low loader.
And it's on the tracks, is it?
On
and
tracks,
just drive
tracks
it off
the machine, and it's ready to go to work in 10-15 minutes.
That's pretty good.
From point of delivery.
Yeah. Oh, right. Okay. So very interesting.
That will be at the upcoming Bauma show again.
Oh, okay.
In 2 weeks' time.
Yeah.
Where's that? 7th of April to 7th to the 13th, Munich.
Oh, in Munich. Okay.
In Munich,
is that like like one of Europe's biggest?
You have a lot of trade shows, obviously, that go on globally around the world. You have the UK shows, which is Hillhead.
Yeah.
Scott Plant in Scotland, Plantworks. You have smaller regional shows, but the big European shows would be Bauma, which goes on for 7 days.
7 days, okay.
In Munich.
Yeah.
And you will see, it's colossal. It's on the old Munich airport.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
It covers a huge area, and you'll see all the latest machinery and technology and advancements and stuff that's coming down the line at that show.
Yeah. Oh, right.
It's, you have ConExpo in Vegas.
Yeah.
They happen every 3 years, a lot of these shows.
Mm-hmm.
So that particular Remax will be at the Bauma show again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what would the what would the sort of cost be of one of those bigger machines roughly? Like, not just for the viewers, just to sort of like get an idea of like, what are we talking, sort of 50,000, 100,000, a million? Like, what would the sort of the biggest, like, how much do I need in my wallet?
That'd be a good deposit.
Yeah.
You are something like the Remax 600, Tom.
That's the sort of that yeah.
You're looking there in the region of
right, so
over £1 million.
Yeah, but then if you're getting
that type of machinery, depending on the options, what you want to come with it as well.
If you're getting 600 ton an hour, then you need a big. You need a big supply as well. You need a big business to serve it. Yeah.
There is one here in the UK already.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. So you will find them in the big quarries and the tarmacs and that. So it's a contractor up north is the owner of it. We get constant feedback on that machine. So he will be putting, as I said, 550 ton per hour of a 40 mil to zero limestone product on the ground,
right,
and burning 30 to 35 litres of fuel per hour.
Is that what it does? Right, okay.
I mean, that's a third of what the predecessor.
It's not bad, really, when you look at the pile of stuff that you're going to get out of the end of it, the finished product. That's pretty good.
And what it is there, Tom, for that particular particular contractor is cost per ton on the ground. So he's able to produce that now at 550 ton per hour at a cost. He knows his fuel.
Yeah.
He knows his wear, and he's able to. He may have paid a bit more for the machine initially at the outset.
Yeah.
But he will be looking 5-10 years down the road. What is it going to cost him over 10,000 hours or 20,000 hours to produce with this machine? And he'll halve his costs, his running costs by 40%, maybe even higher.
Yeah, which is very good.
Yeah. So these guys, they look further down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do a lot of, obviously we've got our soil screeners. We've talked a lot about crushing. The soil screeners, they're made by the same sort of manufacturers in the same factories and things as the crushers, or are they kind of a fairly separate business entirely, or do the two go, the two do go kind of hand in hand? Yeah,
some companies, Tom, will do both. They will have crushing and screening lines.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of them. They're all different companies. When I started back 20 years ago, you could kind of count on one hand the main ones.
Yeah.
But now, I wouldn't have enough hands. There are so many different manufacturers of screeners around the world these days.
But they're not just because I know there was a lot based in Northern Ireland.
Yes.
I don't know if that's still the case, but
Yeah, that still is the case over there.
Yeah.
Probably, are we right in saying that maybe 75%
is it?
plus of the crushing and screening requirements for the world
do they really? All are really?
In Northern Ireland. They're
Keeps them going.
they're all in close proximity over there, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of good companies, you know, that I've represented in the past as well, and you'll find they're doing either crushing and screening line, or you have breakaway companies just doing screening, and some of them are doing the same screens in different colours.
Yeah.
But
and
more or less the same.
Obviously, when you're screening out material, which to the viewers, that's essentially separating the product into different sizes. So, you know, if you had, just as an easy example, say shingle, you know, you can get your 10 mil size shingle, your 20 mil size shingle, your 40 mil size shingle. So you need a big sieve. That's basically when we say screening, we mean a big sieve. We screen topsoil. That's the main thing that we screen.
Yeah.
Is there a particular type of screener that is better? Because there's quite a few different ranges, aren't there, of screeners? So talk us through the sort of different types of screeners that you can get.
You really only have kind of two types of screeners out there. One which is a scalper, a reclaimer type machine, which is similar to what you're running currently inside in Springbridge, and you have a finishing screen, or a sizing screen, which is an incline belt that the material runs up the belt, does a 360 degree turn, a 180 turn, back down the screen box, and is sorted into the different sizes that you said there, like a 10, a 20, a 40, and that. The purpose of a sizing screen, and when you're screening material that low, that small, the longer you can keep material on a screen box, the cleaner it's going to be, and the better material. So because when it's on the screen box, if you have a low inclination screen box, it's going to take that. You mean
the angle? The angle.
Yes.
Yeah, of which the because what you're saying with the screen box is it's basically like a big grid with holes in it.
Yes.
Basically, and the stuff drops through the side, and you put whatever size grid that you want as the mesh, as the user of the screens. Yeah.
So with a high incline, the material, you know, just with stratification and that, it will bounce down the top of the box until it falls off the oversize at one side. The finer material drops down onto the next deck, and it's got that period of time to get cleaned and separated into its right end of destination off the right belt.
Yes.
So with a low incline box, the lower the incline and the higher the stroke.
The stroke is the way the box moves.
Box shakes, yes.
Right.
Yes,
so it's like so it's throwing.
Yes.
So it's sort of throwing the material up and down.
It's the box is shaking at a very, very high aggression.
Yeah.
So most again of the conventional screeners out there have a 6 to 8 mil throw on them. With the range that we have at this moment, again from Europe, it's a diesel electric drive concept that has a 12 mil throw.
Right.
And the inclination is quite low on it. So with the inclination being quite low, the material will stay on that box that bit longer.
Right.
And get cleaned.
So it's got more chance.
It's got more chance
to go through, to drop through the holes.
Yes, and you get more productivity out of it.
Yes. Yeah.
More tonnages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how
you won't
many?
Get any carryover then as well in theory, you know, because when it's getting cleaned and separated so vigorously, it ends up in the right place. Yeah.
And how many different different meshes can you have within one screener generally? Like, what would be the most that you could split the material into different sizes within
up to
one?
3 decks.
3 decks.
In theory, yeah.
So that would give you how many products? 3, 5?
It would give you 4 products.
4 products.
Yeah. So you can have 5 if you have a reject grid on at the front end where the material is being loaded.
Yes.
So you've got a loading shovel loading onto the tipping grid. You can have a mesh there.
Yes.
Which, you know, it carries up then and onto the screening decks, which you can have a triple deck there. You will get an oversize, a mid-size, and a finer fraction off of that. So most the conventional inclines out there at the moment, if they're fully equipped with a tipping grid on them and maybe even a live head, can give you 5 products.
That's quite good. Through one sort of through one go of the machine. So it's splitting essentially a raw material into 5 different products that you can sell.
You generally find people will go with a 0 to 6, 6 to 10, a 10 to 20,
the 20 standard sizes,
20 to 45. And the 45 upwards then falls off the reject grid.
Inches for our American viewers.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant! Yeah. And one of the screeners that we've got in the yard actually is a Trommel screener, which we haven't touched on. So that's slightly different. I look, it's a bit like a washing machine with holes in it, I suppose, is how you describe it, and it spins around and kind of the stuff sort of throws through it. What is the reason? Is it just the design? What is the reason for going for, say, a Trommel over a flat mesh of a flat mesh?
The Trommels, as you rightly said, it is like a washing machine or a drum. Yeah. With again sized mesh around the whole barrel, lifts the material and drops it from that height within the trommel. It's really to loosen up the material. It will only give you 2 products at the end of the day. One off the discharge belt at the front, which tends to be the oversize product, and one belt to the side, which can be radial or static. That's kind of the purpose of them is for more lighter material. Yeah. Oh, so there is heavier ones there, industrial ones that will sit at the face of the quarry for the blast from the quarry as well.
So would it be for things like, say, skip companies or something that maybe they want to separate like light waste rather than somebody trying to separate aggregate or sand or something bulky and dense?
It's with the length of the trommels, really. It's to get the finer material out. Right. And let the rest of the material carry on. You do find a lot of the waste industry using trommels within their systems. And initially at the start of the system, so that is to get the fines out as early as they possibly can. You find them with a 40 or a 50 or a 60 mil drum mesh. To take them fines out initially, so they're not carrying on through the plant. In your particular case, I know because we sold you that trommel. That's for an 8 mil product.
Correct. Yeah.
For cricket pitches.
We were looking for a screen that could basically take our sort of standard multi-purpose topsoil and make it very, very fine so that you could use it for top dressing lawns and seeding and that kind of thing. And it definitely does that. I think the only thing the difficulty with that kind of product, especially with topsoil, is I think it's very weather dependent, because trying to screen, that's from our experience, screening, you can screen for sort of 9 months of the year in the UK, but when you start to go down to very small holes in the screen, we found that it's not. It can block very easily if the stuff is very wet or any sort of moisture. So, which I think is why a lot of competitors that sell these products and things, these products are a higher price because they are difficult to produce. You can only do it in a short period of time. Then you've got to stockpile the product. You've got to keep it in a shed somewhere, keep it dry, which obviously is a cost because storage isn't free. And the other thing that we find with the top dressing as well is obviously there's a lot of waste that you can't. When you screen the topsoil, you get the very fine product, but what do you do with the other product? Because the bit you don't need, because that really doesn't, and you've taken all the goodness out of the soil by making it smaller, and you're left with basically a load of stones and twigs and that kind of thing. So that then becomes
a waste product
a waste product for us. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a waste product for somebody else, we've managed to get that into washing plants and things where they can create like a shingle out of it or stuff like that. But
it gets recycled again.
Exactly. Yeah. It doesn't just get tipped in the ground. It does get recycled. But from our point of view, obviously it's a waste product. Yeah.
Yes.
But I think there's a saying somewhere that, like, one man's waste is another man's gold or something. I think it was something like that, isn't it? So exactly. And you touched on earlier about sort of the AI and the future of screening and crushing. Is there what are you seeing sort of coming through then in the future of?
Yeah, just on the AI side of it, just back to SBM there. It's something they've been at since 2020.
Yeah.
In conjunction with a university in Lebanon in Austria. So there's 4 or 5 different stages to it. So they should be rolling it out in its entirety probably in another 3 to 4 years' time. But just, the short end version of it is that, first of all, it was to make sure it was safe to do that. It's all done through mobile network, SIM cards.
Right.
So the machine, basically the Remax 600, is going to be in a position that it is collecting data all the time from material that has been put through the machine.
Okay.
And the end goal there is that it will send alerts to the owner or the operator.
Okay.
Who does not have to be on site with it.
Okay.
To notify him of where on the machine.
You mean like when belts are getting
maintenance, where it will identify all the material that goes through the machine with the AI advancement is fed back to a database, a library back in SPM.
So is it taking pictures of it or something?
It's monitoring it through sensors and cameras.
Right.
So the material that's going through it, what that then in turn it's fed into a library back in Austria, so the machine knows, hang on, I've seen this material before, knows what it is, it's able to identify it. And the operator or the owner will be able to go to the machine and say he wants a particular product for the week, a 20 mil product. Mm-hmm. The machine will self-adjust and produce that material for the week for him.
And will it be able to identify if the product is going bad or if there's especially, I suppose it's more useful for recycling companies or people recycling waste rather than quarries, or maybe it has a use there as well, but quarries are dealing with the sort of the same material all the time because that's how it's dug out the ground, whereas a recycling company, they could be dealing with whatever other companies are bringing into them to be processed. Yes. So the quality is harder to control, I should imagine, in a recycling company. Is that the end goal, is to get these cameras to sort of pick out like that's a good the stuff is getting bad, the stuff is getting good, and quality control it and everything?
Yeah, that's when it will alert the operators to change or fluctuation in material, and the machine will then adapt accordingly. Right. To try and manipulate the changes to make the product right again.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So it's very advanced. They've been working hard on it since 2020. Yeah. As I said, SPM, they're a 70-year-old company. That all these concepts and all the stuff that's coming down the road, they try to be ahead.
Yes.
Of the curve.
Well, certainly over that. By the sound of it. Yeah.
So again, as I said, with the AI there, the material, if there's a change in the material, as you alluded to there, it will adapt to make sure that the curvature of the material is implemented properly. Yeah. Yeah, as with the technology that it will adjust itself accordingly. Right. It doesn't need manual manipulation to it. Yeah. Adjustment. Yes. Yeah. But it will send out a warning to the operator and the owner. Yes. When it needs some love and attention.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Which they all do. Yeah.
That sounds really good. Yeah. It sounds it's exciting, isn't it? Really, what's coming. Yeah. It's good that, a lot of these machines are quite technology, really, like, and it's good to see I mean,
I
mean, if you look to someone that's never seen a crusher or a screener, it might look like sort of something, they're very large, but they're actually simple and large in certain ways. It's good to see them sort of embracing the sort of new technology and AI to really increase the outputs and everything else. And I think it looks, to me anyway, from the outside, it looks very simple, but then actually, like you've touched on with the engines and the electric, the electric power units and everything. I mean, the internal workings of the machine is actually very complicated. It's a simple, trying to get a material from one size down to another size, whether you're crushing it down or you're screening it down, sounds like a very simple process. But actually, to do it on a large scale is, it can be very, very complicated. And because there's a lot of factors involved, like you say, like the environment, the noise, the anything else really, get the quality and everything else. So and
all rock is different as well, if you're crushing in Scotland versus crushing down here in the south, the abrasiveness, the toughness, the hardness of the rock is different, so that also has an impact on the crushing units.
No, it's really good.
What we do here is, we can have the crushers operating the screening unit from the one source, and even screening units now with stockpilers coming off of them, because what we try and do, Tom, is reduce manpower, because skilled labour is very expensive. Not to mind unskilled labour these days. We all know the costs involved in that. So what we try and do is reduce manpower on site, because first of all, staff are so hard to get. And the cost of them these days. Our machinery is basically it's connecting to the machine next to it, and in theory only needs one operator these days, and that's a guy to feed it at the very start. You don't need the loading shovels anymore. Yes, you need them in your business to load lorries and things like that, or you can load the whole process with the loading shovel. And it will run and stack the material all from the one power source.
So some of these very complicated plants that are set up with the crushers and the screeners, so you would, I suppose the first thing you would do is crush the material down, would you, and then you to a certain size, and then you'd screen it, or would you you'd make it into a smaller rock kind of thing? Would you?
Like initially with the crushing and screening, for example, the feed source going in will be quite irregular, maybe anywhere from 200 mil size to 500 mil size. That goes into the jaw chamber, that's impact massive, chamber.
That's the size of almost like a 1 ton bulk bag that you can, something that could be as big as that.
And again, prior to all that, what we find a lot of companies are doing today is they're preparing the materials that little bit better. So prior to it going into jaw crushers, they will have attachments on their excavators and stuff, hammers, peckers, to break up the material, to reduce it in sizing, so that when it goes in the jaw crusher, it's not going to cause a blockage, it's not going to cause downtime. Once it goes through the jaw crusher, it then can carry on to a screening unit to make your 2, 3, 4 different sized materials that your business sells.
And all from the one, that's the ideal goal, is it? So get it loaded into the crusher, comes out the crusher, then you split it into various sizes, and then you have those, we haven't touched on those, but you have the stacking belts, which basically is a large belt that takes the material away and stacks it in a heap, so that you don't have to take it away with a man and a machine taking the material away.
We've seen a huge uplift in the sale of them. It's one of the range that we cover as well, from a company in Northern Ireland called Screencore. Similar mindset as ourselves, to reduce handling at a minimal cost. So we will take, let's say for example, an 80-foot dual drive stacker from them, and we will incorporate that into the SBM jaw crusher or impactor, or even onto the Muckin Meccano screener that we have in the range, and that will run from the same source, which is generally at the start of the operation, i.e. the crusher or the screener. That reduces handling of the material. It will stockpile it, 80 foot from the ground, probably giving you an 18,000 cubic metre sausage of material if it was radial, but in a conventional cone, anywhere from 10 to 15,000 cubic metre of material. Right. So you're not handling it then if you've got bays and your setup. Housekeeping has become very important these days. For companies that you wouldn't find yourself eating your breakfast in bed, would you? Not all the time. No. You do it in the kitchen. So companies are starting to realise, right, our material is coming in. We do our preparation over here.
Yes.
This is our crushing facility.
Yes.
So they're limiting movements as well around the place. On the screening side, the same thing. They will screen.
Yes.
Close to where the feed source is.
Yes.
And distribute it into bays.
Well, it all costs money, doesn't it?
So you're generally using one operator then to carry out all these functions rather than 2 and 3 men running around the yard. And
well, that's moving material is a if you can move the material with a big belt rather than a man, and it's safer as well. That's the other. It's safer.
You're only talking here like if you run that from let's say the Muckin in we talk about your business because one of the screeners inside in your place, if that was now plugged into the stacker, it would probably be charging you 1 litre of fuel per hour.
Right, okay.
On the dual drive concept.
Yes, yeah.
So we have case studies done on this.
That's not, 1 litre per hour.
Yeah, that's additional. So there's what you're reducing there, Tom, as well, is noise, decibel levels.
Yes.
There is no engine roaring from that stacker. Because it's running electrically from the SBM or the Muckin Meccano, which has the lowest decibel levels out there anyway.
Yes.
Than any of the diesel hydraulic units. Diesel hydraulic runs at very, very high RPM.
Yes.
2,000, 2,200, which then means fuel consumption spikes at 25 to 30 litres of fuel per hour.
Right,
consistently. Then add the material. So it's up and down all the time. With the hybrid technology, it's 1,500 RPMs constant.
Right.
And power is transferred to the onset generator.
Yes.
Which is very, very quiet.
Yeah.
And does the work. And because it's constant power all the time, it's not surcharging up and down looking for more power or hydraulics to perform its duties. In theory, you have 8 to 10% more production at the end of the day per hour on your material because it's constant.
Yeah.
Screening, what you mentioned there earlier on, I can't let it go by. You said you'd hope to screen 8 to 9 months of the year.
Yes.
In the UK.
Yeah.
That's on a good year.
Yeah. That's optimistic. Yeah.
Optimistic, yeah. We were blown away recently with our new product range, Muckin Meccano, which derives from Sweden. It's a family-run company since 1956.
Right.
The low inclination, the electric drive, and the mains adaptable concept with that screener. We landed in Sweden and it had been raining for 36 hours.
Right.
When we got there, we'd had the factory tour and all that. Myself and my colleague that were there, and next thing the guy in charge of production there said to us, we're going to take you up the road here to look at a soil screening application.
Okay. Sounds like up my street.
We were not a chance. It's been raining 36 hours. Heavy, proper rain. It was probably the first time I landed on rain, on water on a Ryanair flight at the airport. It was that wet. The man operating the machinery at the other end, a very similar business to yourself, was there, lo and behold, loading the machine with a loading shovel, producing material in the wet, rainy conditions. Yes, yeah. This was through one of the Muckin Meccano low incline machines, and running off a generator, burning 3 to 4 litres of fuel per hour.
Yeah.
He tried everything else down through the years.
Yeah.
Just again had it set up in a particular scenario and situation where he was able to get around the machine at all times with his loading shovel, and he was producing 3 grades of
Right.
Material. I have the video footage of that to show you.
Right.
Well.
We'll have a look at that later. Yeah.
And again, what he also has the ability to do there is plug a stacking belt into the generator, either a 50, an 80, 100.
Oh, so you can just
whatever size requirement is needed.
Run it off to
put that material where you want it. Yeah. But again, as I said, decibel levels and that, it's extremely quiet. In a built-up area where you've got housing around you and, maybe neighbours there that you have to keep happy.
Yeah. They are very noisy machines. Well, they used to be, as you say, they are getting a lot quieter now, and that's something that a lot of people don't take into consideration is the noise. It's like because you can't just, unless you're in the middle of Scotland, miles away from anything, you do have to take that into consideration, and a lot of them they have. I think they've worked a lot. The manufacturers definitely have worked a lot to sort of bring the noise levels down from where they were a few years ago.
Yeah. The only way you'll get them down is through hybrid technology or electric supply into them. Other than that, if you're running the engines, and the engine emissions have had to come down as well.
Yes, well, with the green sort of agendas and things that and targets that Europe and the UK are setting. Yeah. And is there much maintenance involved with these new sort of hybrid machines, or is it is there a reduction in maintenance, or is it different?
You have a reduction in maintenance. You obviously always have your wear parts, and if we're talking about jaw crushers, for example, you get your wear on your jaws, on your cheek plates, on your belts, things like that.
Quite a hostile environment, really, isn't it? Like these sort of
rebar and rock and stone and glass and every kind of a thing going through the machines. So your wear parts will wear accordingly. But the maintenance schedules on them have been pushed way out to 500-hour services.
Right.
No hydraulic services on the SBM range in theory. There's only a very small hydraulic pack on it, and that's to drive the tracks.
Yeah.
So that's kind of done once every 3,000 to 4,000 hours.
Right.
We have a GPS app that monitors the crushers at all times.
Okay.
Well, any of the SBM range that are out there. So we can see and plan service and maintenance schedules for customers in advance.
Okay.
So we have a rundown of what the machine is doing every day, its location, any errors that might be occurring on the machine. And when it is due for a service, it will set off like a traffic light system.
Right.
On our system, green, everything's fine. Amber, it's getting close to a service, maybe in the last 100, or like you'll often get your BMW dealers ringing you up, Tom.
Yes.
Your car's due.
Yeah, you would.
That? It's quite similar to that. And then when it hits the red, it's at its point for servicing.
Right. Yes.
So we'd ring up and offer to service the machine for them, and they all.
And do they do all the? You'd have your own mechanics and things that do that. I mean, I'd imagine it's quite specialist work, that kind of thing, isn't it?
Just on the engine side of it, the engines are in general. You have 5, 6 filters on them between air filters, oil, fuel. Nothing any different to what most engineers would have seen.
Right.
In the past. On the electrical side of it, they would just have to have a little bit of
training,
electrical competence and training.
Yeah.
Yes, which is provided to see any problems that might be happening on the electrical side of it.
Right. Yeah.
But what we've got there as well is
it's all new, isn't it? And it's all new technology, so a lot of people might not have seen it before.
What you have here as well, Tommy, is you have the advancement of online support from the manufacturers in Austria, in Sweden.
Yeah.
So if the engineer goes to the machine and cannot rectify the problem there and then, he has got assistance where they can log into the machine from the manufacturers,
right,
and direct them or point them to where the issue may be, where he may need to take an electrical reading.
Yeah.
And that's ingenious. It's invaluable. Like the help.
That
gives you.
That is good.
That saves as well at times. There, you get simple faults on the machine where they'll trip out. The deployment of engineers, not having to deploy an engineer.
Yeah, just being able to see the problem remotely.
There's a 6F1, a magnet has tripped. he goes and resets it, just like resetting the fuse on the wall if a light trips.
Yeah.
And away he goes again.
Yeah.
You're not sending or deploying.
Could have been down for 3 days with waiting for,
you
before
don't
then.
have the argument then of, that engineer came out, he was only here an hour, but I was charged,
Yeah, travel and,
and
everything
this, that,
else.
and the other.
Yeah.
We're negating that now with simple phone calls and stuff. And
yeah,
that app and that crush control system and screen control system with the Muckin Meccano range is available to customers.
Yeah,
where they can see, right, I can see what's going on here.
A lot of work must have gone into that from
it's all done through SIMs and GPS.
Is it?
That's all. Yeah. So once they can get into the system, it's generally easy to sort.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Yeah, excellent. That's good to know. Well, I think I've learned quite a lot today, Barry. Thank you very much for your for the chat. It's been really, really good. And I mean, it's good to good to sort of know. And people can find you. Just let everyone know, how can we get in touch with you, Barry, if we were interested in crushing and screening? And
we're based in Ascot, so you'll find us on the web at www.orbagroupLtd.com.
Yeah.
Or any of the socials, like yourself, Tom.
We're Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and everything.
Come and see us at any of the shows.
Yeah.
The trade stands.
And we can, brilliant. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much for everything. And hopefully, I'm sure we'll see you and all the machines that you're associated with out and about.
Yeah. Thank
brilliant.
you very much. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you. Cheers.